listeners, viewers, welcome to episode 4 of Listen Christy podcast. And if that means you're still with us after our Valentine's episode, the clap before the clap.
Yeah.
That means you love us. So if you're here on episode 4 still listening, please go ahead and go to that YouTube, like and subscribe, Instagram, Facebook.
Smash all the
Things,
appropriate
all
buttons.
the wares. And keep an eye out on our website as we're going to be adding new information to that website every day about our Listen Christy Love segment, as well as one other surprise we have hopefully coming soon in the next few weeks. But Christy and I are really excited because today we have a guest with us.
Our very first guest. And this was on my wish list from the moment we decided to do this. I said our very first one has to be Nikki.
Yes.
I just love her so much.
Oh, thank you.
Not is she only local. She was probably I met you one of my very first days in College Station, and we cut a rug that night at New Year's Eve.
That's right.
That's right.
And girl can throw down, girl can dance.
She thinks she can.
I'll have to dig up that video of my birthday party when she was cutting it up. That's good.
Right.
And so I knew I loved her from the start. And she always just struck me as somebody that was a cheerleader for women. Not only she's gorgeous, but as soon as you see her, she's one of those people that just, I think, carries that extra light that you look twice
Without
at.
a doubt.
Yeah.
Thanks. I can be your second, third, fourth guest, whatever. Just keep saying those things.
She'll come back. She'll be back. But I feel like not only are you a champion for women, but what you have done with your career is exactly what you were supposed to do.
Thank you.
Right.
And I feel that way too about NPT or Nikki Pederson talent or whatever you want to. We call it NPT. Just
Okay,
for
so
short,
tell us
but-
about what you've been branded as, and then what your transition is.
So I'm a talent scout. And 25, almost 26 years ago, we decided to create a company where we were looking for young actors who want to get into the industry, and they don't know how to do that. And in the small town, really all they have is their local theater or their classic theater or whatever. And I met a couple of agents who I was working with the Miss Texas USA pageant, and they felt like I would be really good at spotting actors and talent. Excuse me. Okay, my head's too big or too small. I'm not sure. My headband just fell off. So I was encouraged by a couple of reps to kind of get into this part of the business. And I'm not an actor, although I've been on stage and done some acting with local theater. I'm great behind the scenes. I was raised with a family my dad was a showbiz guy. And so I always say I don't have the talent. I can't sing, I can't dance, but I can spot them. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 26 years is working with young people who think they want to get into the industry. And at the time, before COVID hit, it was getting them to relocate to Los Angeles, giving them the tools to do it. We put together a team, and I spend a year with them. And
So
then,
do you seek the talent here in Texas?
Right.
And then you
Right.
go through this whole program with them here in Texas.
Correct.
And then you do it with the vision that they're going to then relocate to Southern California.
Exactly.
Okay.
They don't have to relocate anymore. And, so fast forward, because of COVID, everything is self-taped. And casting directors have figured out a way to do it without having to, rent a studio and go through the cattle call process. It's all through self-taping and submitted.
Lots of Zoom.
Lots of Zoom. Callbacks are on Zoom usually until they get into, even chemistry reads are on Zoom, which is crazy. But then when they get into where it's between maybe you and another person, and they're trying to see who works well with who all has already been cast, then they'll start seeing you in person. And even though COVID is over with, it's just been more of for the casting director, it's economical. They can do it 3:00 in the morning, or they can do it, at 10:00 in the morning, or they can do it with their pajamas still on. They're just viewing hundreds and hundreds of tapes. So now that the industry has changed, that's probably the one good thing for us that came out of COVID, is that people don't have to relocate. They can live anywhere on the planet and just send in great self tapes. So it's kind of shifted our industry a little bit. But we've been doing it for about 26 years, and we have a lot of success stories. People don't know that it comes out of Bryan, Texas.
Right. We are essentially the center of Central Texas. So we're an hour and 10 minutes from Houston.
Correct.
Less than 2 hours to Austin, less than 2 hours to Dallas.
Right.
And
2
so
plus to San Antonio.
20 years ago, most of the kids that came to us were locals. They
Right.
knew me, and they knew they could trust us. And now we've grown to where we have enough success stories that really most of our kids don't even live in town. I would say out of a group of maybe, we only work with 30 to 40 kids a year.
Okay.
So we keep it very quality, and we workshop throughout the year. And we used to have probably 90% from this area. Now it's probably about 20 or 30% directly from Bryan College Station, and then the rest of them come from other parts of Texas.
Okay.
Even some from out of state. We have some people that fly in for their workshops.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if I can break it down a little bit for people listening that don't know the industry or think, hey, I want to get into that. Or, I remember being little and hearing the little girls' dreams of like, oh, you were spotted by a talent scout, or they thought you had the potential for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Somebody can come to you from go, like never having experienced anything, complete novice,
Right.
and you will handhold them through the whole,
Right.
like kind of interview to say, hey, do I think you have
Right.
what it takes for this? And have you turn people away that you say, look, this might not be what you're cut out for?
Oh yeah. Or somebody who says, they'll put in the work and then they don't during the process of getting ready over the year, and then we'll spot that and we'll encourage them to either work harder or maybe this isn't for them.
Have you ever experienced a stage mom?
People ask me that, and they've been asking me that for over 20 years. It's funny because, yes, the answer to that is yes, but not as much as people think.
Well, yeah, because every mom's going to think that her kid's like the brightest, most spectacular.
But we just set a tone in our studio where it's just not accepted, and we're small enough. I was interviewed a few years ago for a reality show based on what we do. And I've always encouraged the kids not to get involved in the reality shows. If they want to be actors, because a lot of them want to be actors or just not making it, and and so they get cast in that, and they get. Yes, it does fast forward sometimes their careers, but not necessarily in a positive way. And so, they like the train wrecks. And
because then they get too known for being them.
and usually
and not formulating.
People watch reality shows
Right.
for the train wreck, and
Right.
so you get pigeonholed for this personality that may not even be your personality. It just sound bites. And so we always said, that wouldn't be my goal as an actor. If you're starving out there, that's one thing, but really that's not your goal. To be a great actor is to start out in reality TV. But I interviewed for an opportunity to kind of showcase. And the woman kept asking me questions about, the drama that happens not the acting drama, but the drama, the emotional drama that happens. And I just couldn't give her the answer she wanted. And it was because she kept trying to compare us to dance moms. And I just said, we are so not dance moms. We don't scream it at each other from across the room. Right. We don't, that's not even acceptable in our studio. And so, so the person that had recommended us for this, she went back to them and said, there's just not enough drama. Ironically, there's just not enough drama. And because I said, if we have an issue, we take it behind closed doors. And if we address it to the whole group, we don't call people out. We just say, here's what is acceptable and here's not what's acceptable. And you know who you are. And so we'll just leave it at that. And so we have some come to Jesus moments in our workshops on occasion.
And so it's you and a team of how many other people?
Well, we bring in a lot of our coaches. All our coaches come in from LA. But there's about a team of 6 of us.
Okay.
And I started out where I was the coach and I was the recruit, the scout. I did everything. I was the money collector. I was everything. And now I've taken a step back and I have a pretty full team that handles most everything. But our coaches come in from LA.
So you will represent actors, models.
Just actors.
Just actors.
We started out doing models and didn't enjoy that part of the industry. It's different than the acting. You don't need any skill for that. You just need to come, a certain size and a certain weight and it got to be a little bit ridiculous. And
You don't need a food budget either.
yeah. And if I'm being honest, we when we would take our group of models, because we would do the same thing with the models, except we would take them to New York. When an overweight man pulls out I'm going to say this, balding overweight man pulls out a measuring tape and measures some 14-year-old and says she needs to lose an inch in her hips. I outgrew that. It wasn't fun anymore, and it was too hard for me to look at them and say you're not skinny enough, and
Right.
or you're not pretty enough, or you're not this enough when they were. It just that was just an opinion from one person, and it just wasn't fun for me anymore. And so we stopped. I would say about almost 8 years ago, stopped working with the models part of it, and when you don't have to come with skill, and you're that young, and it's easy to forget how somebody has helped you advance. And with modeling, you're a mother agency. And so the money you make in that area is by them moving forward and making money, with a bigger agency in New York, say, or wherever. And they quickly forget who their
Who
mother,
brought them to the dance?
they do. And so
Because they didn't have to work for it.
they just had to show up skinny enough and pretty enough, and and be told that they could make money, and it is a business. So I don't that's fine. I mean, I'm good with that. But it just wasn't for me. It just wasn't fun for me anymore. My actors come in all shapes and sizes, and if you bring something, one of our success stories is Rainey Rodriguez. When she was 10, I knew she'd be a star. I knew it. Her personality.
And had she come to you, or had you just spotted her, or
She
knew
came to
her?
an open call.
Okay.
We do an open call, and so we do a big casting, or a big audition event, and then we kind of pick our team from that. And sometimes we'll see them during the year, but she came to an open call.
And you knew it the second you saw her.
American Idol-ish.
A little bit,
yeah.
a little bit, where it's a little bit, it's not, people think even American Idol they're in success, but those kids have been working at it.
For years.
Yeah, Kelly Clarkson was trying to make it in L.A. and as a singer for years before she got on American Idol. In fact, she'd moved back to Dallas and then got on American Idol that way, and of course the rest was history. And so most of them have been working hard, but ours, a lot of what you said earlier, a lot of our kids they don't have any experience, and so we hold their hands, and we still hold their hands.
Right.
We still root for them when they're booking. If we place them, our job is to place them with reps that can take them to the next level.
And after 26 years, I'm sure you've accumulated the Rolodex of all the best in reps.
We know what reps we work well with, who work well with new talent, who develop new talent, as opposed to those who steal talent who've booked. There are reps in LA that won't come to a showcase because they know these kids don't have any experience. And then as soon as one of them books, and I've had this happen several times, as soon as they get on a show, those reps are all about catering to those kids. And I said, they weren't there. They didn't take you to the dance, as you just said. And but they want to take them, they want to steal them from the boutique agent that did take them.
Okay, so-
But Rainey and Rico, they're still with the same agent and manager they started with. This is, 20 some years later.
Okay, so tell us that success story.
I knew Rainey was going to be a star when she walked in. There was a personality about her. She just loved it. She just loved it. I could still do her monologue. At the time, we were going to a big convention. We don't do that anymore. We have our own showcase, our own personal showcase now. But there's just something in somebody that you can't force someone to love, especially a kid, to love doing this. And so I just knew she would be because of her personality and her love for it. And she, to this day, 20 some odd years later, she still loves it. It's like 21 years later. I think she just celebrated her anniversary of 21 years of moving to LA a couple of days ago. And she's one of our coaches that comes in. Besides the work she's still doing, and she's still auditioning. She's still doing she's
How many
like voiceover
siblings?
for 2 shows right now.
How many siblings does she have, and they all in the business?
Just her and Rico. She's got 4 siblings. She's
Okay.
got 2 older brothers, but and they've got an extended family because they're all married and have a lot of kids. But they're one of the most unique families I've ever worked with. Rico was not interested in being in the business. He was very young and very shy when she went through the program. Very shy, but once they got out to LA, because they took Rico with them, Dad stayed back, and they were they've done very well now. Because of years later, they're one of the most hardworking families I've ever known.
Now, what shows has she acquired?
So Rainey was on Austin and Alley, but she's done a ton of, she's done several movies. She was Kevin James's daughter in Mall Cop, And but she's done probably every Nickelodeon and as a guest on all the big shows. She's incredibly talented. During COVID, she was the voice of Sammy on the Jurassic World, the animated show. And so she worked through COVID. She's doing voiceover work even now. I mean, she's got a studio here, and then she's got one in LA. They spend a lot of time here because, again, like I said, you can audition from anywhere. And then, of course, Rico was on Modern Family for 11 years. He was 10 years old when he decided it looked like fun. And then
he played Little Manny on.
He played Little Manny on Modern Family, but he wasn't interested. But he signed with the same agent and the same manager. They're so unusual because
He has such a cute little twinkle.
Oh, you have a great story about him.
Yeah,
I do. It was about a decade ago, and I hadn't moved here permanently yet.
And he was already on the show.
Yes. And I did not realize he was from here, or that I just didn't put two and two together. And I'm in Bed Bath & Beyond, and I see this kind of mob of moms following this child, it seems like, because you can see over the aisles.
Yeah. And he's not little anymore.
No.
Yeah.
And this, like I said, this is 10 years ago, and he was kind of just a little husky kid. I don't know how old he is now, and so he kind of got down the aisle from me, and he's looking, and I see these women come back around, and I'm thinking, are they following him? Are they bothering him? And they're looking now, it's between me and Rico. And I said, do you ever feel like you go places and like people just look at you for no reason, like they know you? And he goes, all the time.
Well, I mean, he was 10 when he was on the show. He was 21 when the show closed. That's pretty amazing. I mean, so the world watched him
So
grow
how old
up.
is he now?
He's 23 or 24 now.
Yeah, so he was probably about 12.
Yeah.
When I met
And
him.
is he somebody that you consider, because he's a child star? Do you think he's somebody that will survive?
Oh, yeah.
And
I mean, Rainey was too. And Rainey's 30. And she looks like she's 16 still.
I don't mean survive talent-wise, but I feel like some of them go through burnout, and because so much of their life is in the public eye.
They have kept it in such a perspective. I mean, that's why you see them walk in the mall. I mean, if somebody wants a picture, they'll take a picture with them. They haven't let Hollywood go to their head. And heads, I guess, there's two of them, but their mom's down to earth. The whole family is incredibly down to earth. Rainey is an exclusive audition coach for us. She loves it. She's got a key to my studio, so when she's here, she'll just go, I'll be in the studio today. She exclusively coaches our alumni. So once we sign our kids, they become our alumni, so they're past groups, and they're auditioning, and some of them live in LA, so she works with them in LA. She's got a little studio set up there. And then when they're here, and sometimes they come home for the holidays and they'll spend a few months here, and she'll work with them. So, and she's very good at it. She's good at it because she loves it. We've got for 26 years, we do have a lot of success stories. I mean, Brianna Hildebrand's another one. She's one of our success stories. She's doing her third Deadpool right now. They're in filming right now. January, we've had an amazing January. So we've got Ian Owsley, who's from here, who is Sokka on the new Avatar Last Airbender. So they just did their premiere red carpet yesterday, or I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before. We've got a little boy named Sincere Wilbert that's on the new show Murder in the Details that's on Netflix. It's a murder mystery. It's a series. It's got some big stars on it. This is his first big thing, but he's just precious. I mean, we have great kids and great alumni, and I'm starting to take a step back from the day-to-day operations and have more people in the leadership roles now that I trust completely, that have been working with me for a few years. And I love my alumni. I love the
It's
group.
not just alumni, it's a whole family affair.
It is.
It's a lifestyle.
But I want more time to go visit my alumni there in LA, kids that are doing red carpet stuff that I can't go to, because we have a workship that weekend, or you know what I mean. And so that's my next step is to take a step back. In the last year, this past year, I've taken a little bit of step back. Next year, I'll take a little bit more. So we're in that transition so I can enjoy the fruits of our labor, and those kids have worked so hard, and and they include me in the excitement, but it's not the same when you're not there,
Right.
and not not to be a part of it. And even the family, the moms and dads, you asked me about the stage moms or stage dads, and it's so minor, and we just nip it in the bud. It's not something that becomes a big issue for us, because I'm pretty close to most of the families that have decided to stay, even the ones who decided not to pursue this. There are some kids that go through it and say, it's too much for me. Or they become, I've got some of people that come to our showcase are alumni. I've been doing this 26 years. If they were, 20 years old, they're in their 40s now. And they're working on the other side of the camera, and they come to our showcase and they
That
scout.
make you feel great.
Yeah, it does. And sometimes I forget, when you get tired or
You've
whatever, and you
given
forget.
an opportunity for them to have tools
Yeah,
to take forward.
yeah.
Well, and you're so personally invested. I mean,
It is personal for me.
These are your
It is,
babies.
you've
yeah.
essentially
I
been
don't
a
have children
foster
myself.
mother
These are my
to-
kids. Yeah.
Yeah, to
A
how
couple of
many
hundred.
people.
Yeah,
And for you to follow up and
it's true.
follow their story and cheerlead them or get them through the tough times.
Yeah.
That's a lot of love.
I
Yeah.
just remember when I guess Modern Family was getting ready to go off, and they were doing lots of press junkets and interviews. Sofia Vergara, they would ask her about the, cast, and she had Ed. What was her
O'Neill.
O'Neill, and she's like, broken English. They're going to put me with him. Okay, I don't really see it. She said, we had great chemistry, and then she was so complimentary of Rico.
Yeah, Rico, yeah.
And she said, but it's the whole family. In other words, we become a family. We're together 16 hours, 18 hours a day,
I can
5
be out
days
to
a week.
dinner with Rico and in the family, not with just Rico. I don't. Yeah, but I can be out to dinner with them, and he'll get a text from one of the the cast members, because they're still friends. They still communicate. They.
Well,
and I like to say, I'm not biased, but or maybe I'm a little bit, but. I think he was one of the favorites on the as kids, and
Right.
I know why. I mean, I wasn't on the set. I just know who they are and the kind of work ethic and the kind of people that they are and who he is today. I mean, he and Rainey are best friends. Like just Hollywood didn't taint them at all. And so the only stories you hear about, especially children, and they're in the business, are the
scary,
train wrecks, the
right.
scary ones. But those aren't the majority of them. Most people probably transition okay.
Well, and I feel like the image that was always portrayed to me about that network of people is, it's a town that's going to eat you up, or it's going to eat you alive. You don't want to be there, participate. But one of the things I found when we went to comedy camp was it was such an inclusive group of people that
Right.
all really cheerleads for each other in a
Right.
different kind of way. And I feel like getting in with you and your business at the get and having that like immediate family that's going to take you through everything, that's going to say, look, you don't have to worry about all the scary stuff, because it isn't really like that.
Right. It can be if you get in with the wrong group, but what you're doing is you're finding a group of people that have the same goals and the same interests. And so, we keep hearing about, and we were just having a conversation before we started talking, is almost being mean is in. Like,
Right.
we live in this real weird time, but when you're with a group of people that, again, are doing something different and taking some risk, there are people outside of us that say, what are you doing? And, especially young kids who are going through it, we advise them, don't tell everybody in school you're doing this. Just do it.
Just do it.
And because you don't want people in your ear that are telling you all the negative things when they don't have a clue.
Right, because a lot of times when you're young and want to do it, your peers will be jealous.
Exactly. And they disguise it with they really care about you sometimes. And really it's unless they're in the business,
So
how
what-
do they know this information?
So-
And so it's just crazy information that's reached a fever that's not even true. And I feel like with social media, it's even worse. And so we advise the kids to hang around with people, that encourage them to do it. I mean, like, what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to come out feeling, there isn't a single person, and I don't care if they get signed or don't get signed. Most of our kids get signed. But if they don't get signed, they're not leaving that showcase in LA and we're very protected. It's not we don't go to a convention. It's our kids in front of 50 agents or reps, and they're going to leave better than they showed up.
Right.
On the first day that they auditioned for us. Something magical happens once because it's 2 nights of showcase, same scenes, same showcase, just different set of reps, and the fear that they felt the first workshop, and then now they're getting in front of these people that are they're hoping that somebody's going to want to rep them. They've done it. They walk away, and they're not the same humans. And I mean that even if they got a lot of callbacks or if they got 0 callbacks, they're not the same. And
you can see that seed of confidence.
Oh,
So,
the
okay.
change in them, or
Right.
maybe it's one that was really struggling in workshops. They did get signed, and then they come back, and then all of a sudden, the person that we weren't sure was going to make it because maybe they just weren't, as shining in workshops. They're sometimes the ones that get the most auditions, and they get the first booking, or from the new group that just got signed. It's crazy because there's just something that clicks in them when they're done with that showcase.
And it's true, the camera can love certain people.
Yeah, and I would say that's about Rainey as well, and several other people. Brianna's the same way. We've got a little girl named Amira Johnson who just got booked on, and she's a series regular. For a new show that ABC, the only show that got picked up, ABC on ABC, and it's going to be the show that they've just started filming. So
What's it called?
I don't think I can tell you.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah.
That's secret.
Secret information.
Yeah.
Okay, so walk me through, let's say hypothetically, my gorgeous Jesus-looking brother hadn't aged out of the program, and he wanted to, sign up. Walk me through what his experience would be like. What is his time commitment?
Yeah, it's and we do expect people to show up for the workshops. We allow a couple of misses, and then that's when we start saying, it depends on their work ethic too. But we do an open call. Actually, today and Monday, we've reached out to people who sent in information to our website. So you submit through the website. And so we decided we would try something new this year. Again, I've got new people, they're kind of stepping into some leadership roles, and they had this idea. I'm still working through it, where we meet with them early and then let them go ahead and register early. But normally we just do a big open call, and then we call back the people that we think are going to be someone we can work with. So during the open call, they audition, we give them sides, which is just pieces of, of full scripts. And they come into a room where there's a panel of us, and it's done privately, and we'll talk to them, and then if we like them, we'll ask them some other questions about their commitment and where they are in their lives right now. Like, is this something you could commit to for a year? And because we do expect you to show up, and all of them say yes, and so if we invite them to be on the team, we'll say we would love for you to be on the team. And a lot of it is just gut instinct at that point, because I don't know your work ethic, really.
Yeah, you see something that
You
they
see
have.
something, yeah, or something that we can work with. And we've done it long enough now where we can even see, is this, especially if they're super young, is this someone that we can work with? Are they going to sit still for, workshops and that sort of thing? But if they're older, you can pick up on it quicker because, again, they're,
So their workshop schedule then becomes
very, very important. So we'll say, okay, we'd like you to be a part of the team. And then we meet with them again separately, just one-on-one after callbacks, and give them the information, the package. There's a cost to it. Ours is the package deal. So there's a cost to it. It's airfare, it's hotel, it's a week in LA. We pay for all expenses, their headshots, their training. Training is from August to June, and in June is when we go to LA, and when we do the showcase. It's about every other weekend. We used to do every weekend, and this is when I didn't have a life and I was just getting started and I was young and, had the energy. And then we just had too many people missing. So we decided, okay, we'll do every other weekend, or about every other weekend, the way it falls, but you're committed to Saturday and Sunday. So we didn't lose any hours. We just combined weekends. That way people can make plans and take weekends off, that sort of thing.
People don't realize, they look at something like this. First of all, it takes a team.
Oh, yeah.
And it takes unbiased opinions that, somebody all of a sudden comes in and maybe their hair is pink.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, here's the deal. These headshots have to last you X amount of time because you're growing, you're continually changing.
Right.
People don't realize how hard it is to find just a great headshot photographer. Are they going to make them look their age?
Right.
Are they going to, somebody look this, well, she's 12, but she looks 22.
Right. Well, we use a photographer out of LA, so he knows what's in. He knows what works, what gets
But
you
the
into-
luxury of having so many experts and eyes
Right.
see this.
Right. We have a wardrober who comes in and will suggest, a different haircut. If they come into the open call and we know that, they need to be styled, we'll ask them, are you going to have a problem if we try and style you a little bit differently? We want you to stay unique. We want you to stay yourself. We want you to agree with what or at least, love what we suggest for you, but you have to trust us. And that's the thing we say, don't sign up, because it's not about truly, and I know people don't believe this, but for me, it's not about the money. And so it's truly about, I don't want to take you if I can't get you signed.
Right.
Because it's about the percent.
value. And I think for people listening that think, hey, maybe I might like to do this, the truth of it not being about the value to you is evident because I think we've also talked about your legacy of what you're doing with your business. You're not,
Right.
as you step back a little bit,
Right.
you're not somebody who's going to capitalize on this legacy that you've built.
Not a nickel.
You're actually, you're giving back what you've created to other people in the industry because it's
That I trust.
that it's that valuable to
That
you.
I trust. And so it's their alumni who I've worked with for 10 plus years. I know they have the same character. They have the same,
Values.
the values and quality. They want the same thing. And so, and that's true. Thank you for saying that, because it's true. People, they think I was crazy, but it's true. I just want to pass it on to someone who's going to take it, make it better. I mean, times are changing, and
Right.
the world is changing, and the way we promote things are changing.
But in a day and age where everybody is looking to make a dollar,
Right.
the fact that you're not only saying, you know what, I've
Right.
created this business, but I want to gift it to somebody who can take it to the next place,
Right.
is a
Who I
priceless
trust.
thing.
Right.
And
Right. Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
I
It's
mean,
true.
that's like
Yeah.
I said, you struck me as a cheerleader for women, and
Yeah. And naysayers would say that, whatever, but they can think, I'm at the age where I don't care.
hey, Christy's got that old age-old saying that
I tried to pay my bills with your opinion, and it
check
just
bounce.
check bounce.
I mean, if you talk to my alumni who are out there, I mean, they know my love for them. Because I do, I really want them to succeed. And some of the alumni, like I said, are people who aren't necessarily, acting. I've got one that's a writer. I mean, the person who writes our scenes are all our originals. They're comedy. We decided we used to do dramatic and comedy, and we decided that comedy is a little harder. And so the agents can see, the reps who are in the room can see the quality in them and their abilities if they can make them laugh. And so we hired a scene writer, and he happens to be one of our alumni who's been writing in LA now for a few years, and he's really good. And from our showcase, because we introduce him as part of he is part of our team. He's actually one that's stepping into a much bigger leadership role. He's gotten writing gigs from it because they think he's so good, and he is. And so it truly is a family. It comes with whatever other things that families come with, but it's and the alumni will tell you that. People who've been through the program, not people who think they know who I am. Some people think they know who we are. They've never
have a stellar reputation.
Thank you.
I've never heard anybody say anything but glowing things.
Thank you.
My child went through the program, or
Yeah.
or as an adult, and just everyone, they were like, it's 8.5 months, I guess, of classes.
Yeah.
And you don't want to miss. You don't want to disappoint your team, because you slow the whole team down when you do.
Right, and like you said, they cheer for each other, because it's now you're in a group of people who have a common goal, and because actors come in all shapes and sizes, in ages and ethnicities, they're not competing with one another.
Right, they have an appreciation for the craft.
Exactly.
We
and the skill of
were
doing it.
really surprised when we went to this comedy camp in LA, I thought, oh, everybody here is going to be professionals, and no. I would say there was at least 8 to 10 trial lawyers there.
Wow.
Well, the audience, yeah, I mean, or the participants, yeah, came in every shape,
It's
size,
amazing.
color, demographic.
Yeah.
But, as Nikki's been talking, I'm sitting here thinking, gosh, I wish she was coming with us,
I know.
because the people that you meet at every experience and every occasion, and to think that you've actually had at least an occurrence like that once a year for the last 26 years, where you get to meet all these incredibly talented people who are going to be in the entertainment industry. It's just, if you have any part of that in you and that's where you vibe, being amongst those people doesn't feel like anything else.
Yeah. No, it's because they're supportive.
Right.
And we're, again, going not to get negative, but we live in a world where I was just, telling Reagan that, your
Super producer.
your producer, that it's almost in vogue to be negative on social media and to say mean things about people they've never met, they've never crossed the
trolling.
threshold. It's incredible, and the people that jump on the bandwagon, and then if you do say something positive to offset the negative, they laugh at you. I hope it doesn't stay in vogue for very long, because it's just so disheartening.
Adult bullying.
But kids are seeing that. Young people are seeing that. And there was bullies when I was going to school. I'm old, so, of course there was bullies, but that wasn't they were the exception. They weren't the majority. And maybe it's that way still, but because social media, it's magnified so much that, I don't have my own children. I just don't know if I could do it with young people, having a young child and try to navigate through all of that. And so when you're with a group of people that have the same goals and the same fears, and they're in it together, it's a blessing. And
so many things have come through your pipeline, and you've seen so much change. Think about it, when you started doing this, the internet wasn't a thing.
No.
And how that's changed. But then the Me Too.
Email wasn't even a thing.
Email wasn't a thing. But now, then the Me Too
That's how
movement
old I am. Yeah.
came. So you had to, as a mother bear, take your tribe and hold them tighter. And a lot of these moms are probably like, hey, we're not going to get out there and meet every Harvey Weinstein.
I know.
But
you can say
it
that.
takes one person.
Because I'm very vocal about
A
that.
bad.
Well,
Because I have parents that that'll protect. When we did our open call, when we were promoting our last open call, Sound of Freedom had just come out,
Right.
and I'm a Christian, and and those people are out there, and I'm going to leave my legacy to part of also for first responders, and then to sex trafficking. So I'm a big believer in all that, but I had not seen the movie. And you would not believe the number of people from wherever in Texas that they don't know us. They've never crossed the thresholds of my building. They have no idea what we do. But because of the ad, they wrote really hateful things saying, that this is where sex trafficking starts and blah, blah, blah. Of course, I blocked them. And then a couple of my moms who'd gone through the program with their kids, wrote rebuttals and said that's not true. And so we fight that too, because the industry can be ugly. But it's only ugly when you start making stupid decisions. When you leave your child, you got a 12-year-old child, you're going to just drop them off, or a 7-year-old, and drop them off and not know who you're leaving them with.
Right.
We don't advocate for that. We're the only school that I know of, and we're kind of a school. I mean, we're not really a school,
I was
but
going to ask you, how.
we're a training facility for, yeah.
Is there a big competition in your industry, or are there very few and far between?
There's a lot of people that do what I do, because there's big conventions that these kids go to.
Okay.
But what they do is they don't get the same kind of quality training we got. When we were going to the big convention, and we were only bringing
NAPTI, is that?
or IMTA, International Model and Talent Association is one of them. In the day, it used to be huge. Now the numbers are down because it's really not in style anymore. I mean, it's, because we're so hands-on, but we started there. And I was new to the business too. And our little group of sometimes 15, sometimes it was 20, sometimes no more than 30, but in the beginning it was just small groups. We would just kill it in competition, and we would on stage during awards night, and they were all going, who is this little group from Bryan, Texas? Where's Brian? And it was weird, because all we cared about was the quality of what we were doing. We just didn't know any other way.
And it showed.
And it showed, and we got these, and so we started out that way, and then we outgrew that because it's a convention. There's a lot of rah, and the more success we were having, the more success people expected from us when they showed up,
Right.
and so we became more exclusive and pulled away from that, and we do our own showcase now. But
And what happens during the showcase?
the reps come in, we feed them dinner. So they have a little bit of hospitality. They go into a room for the showcase. The kids are ready, and and they're backstage, and they come into a room and do their scenes, and they're all original scenes. There's 2 people scenes, so nobody gets lost in a 4-person scene or whatever. And before the reps leave, they leave me with a list of who they'd like to meet and sit down and talk to, and we call those callbacks. And we prepare them for that. They go through interview training, pretty extensive interview training, because it's not like getting a bank job. It's going in and learning to speak for yourself and answer questions. We train the parents not to be the ones answering the questions unless the rep asks them. But the parents are there every step of the way. We don't advocate for them. They can sit through every workshop. I think we're the only people in the country that does that, and the reps will tell me that. I don't know anybody else that lets parents sit through all these, through the training and the classes, and we do. We're just an open book. I want the parents to know as much as the kids,
Well,
because
then it becomes transparent expectations.
Exactly.
The kid's
And-
not going home saying, "Oh, I don't have to do this," and the parents are like,
right.
I
But
mean,
they're also know how to, because they're sitting across from a rep. I'm not there when they're talking to the reps. They're having a meeting with the reps now.
Well, but you're right. At this age, I mean, I'm sure it's asking for a family
And
commitment.
it's safe,
It's
and
not-
that's how we got into the subject. It's safe. The only reason people get into trouble is because they start thinking that there's some sort of fast track in this business, and there's just not. And that's, I tell everybody, every class, 0 to 5 years, to even know why the heck you decided to do this, and because it's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of rejection, but it's a formula that works. And if you stay with it, it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. And the when is the hardest part, because you don't know. Brianna hit it pretty quickly after about 2 or 3 years in LA, when she got Deadpool. But she was already doing some other projects before the big Deadpool. And then, but for the most part, it's an average of about 5 years for things to start snowballing. You'll get jobs and along the way, and some commercial work and all of that. But to really say, I'm excited because this is my big project. This is going to catapult me to another level of respect in this industry. But it's earned. And the people that get in trouble in this business are the ones that think it's going to happen overnight, or I'll give it a year, or they let people get in their ear, and how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be, you get your rep sends you an audition, you get it back to them on time, done well, coached, and then you wait. And then, and you get feedback or you don't. And you might do that 100 times. You might do that 150 times. You might do that 10 times. That's the unknown. And so it's a
You never
numbers
know when
game.
it's going to be the next Modern Family,
Right.
Friends, Deadpool.
But you hear people say, well, if I go to this party and I start mixing with these people, and, that is not going to make you a star. That's just going to make you popular among people that are probably, not in it for, not good for the career. And so it's silliness. And so and I'm old school. And here's what I say to my group. An orientation. So their first workshop, they come in, they're scared. They're all sitting looking at you going, what have I got myself into? And they don't know one another. And so everybody's quiet and behaved. And I mean, that lasts for about 2 or 3 workshops. And then they all, they start opening up. But
I kind of feel like we should take one.
yeah, look, it's no different than, I mean, I'm so proud of you guys going through your comedy, because A, comedy's harder than it looks. And B, I didn't do that. And so, I mean, there's a little fear attached to that. So what you did is huge in my book. But, and so during orientation, I say, you don't have to be here. This isn't a mandatory thing. Maybe you can write a check, maybe you can't, but that's, here's what we'll put up with. And one of the things I say is, I pay for the air in this room. The oxygen belongs to me. So if you don't want to, breathe what we're breathing here, you don't have to stay. But we're old school. You have to show up. you can't show up every weekend and every week saying, well, here's the excuses why I couldn't be off page or why I couldn't be ready for, where I didn't implement the changes we made to our practice scenes and, the skills, because you have to keep improving. And what's interesting is some of them that start out super nervous because they have no experience, about halfway, you can start seeing them sometimes surpass the ones who show up thinking they have all the experience in the world and they're just using us as a catalyst to get to the next level. Because sometimes that happens. And where the ones you're lecturing are the ones who came with a lot of experience, but they're not doing the work.
Right.
Because it's in the work that's going to get you booked. People could care less how much experience
So when you
have.
start a class, they always talk about buds in Navy SEAL. We'll start out with 150 people, and then basically 10 to 15 will graduate.
Exactly.
And do you find it's the same way with yours? That like maybe 4 or 6 weeks in, somebody said, "Okay, this is not what I thought it was."
Yeah. Oh, sure. We'll have one or two that'll do that. Not every year, but we do. Or sometimes we suggest to them. We bring them in and just say, maybe this isn't the right time for you. If these excuses are legit, then maybe you need to hold off and do this another time. If there's someone who we really think is quality and really think is doing the work, but the timing's not right, or there's just a lot going on in their lives and they're trying to put in too much, and this is too much of a commitment, sometimes we'll say, let's just stop you now and hold you over for next year.
So that was what I was going to ask. Does your program start the same time every year, or does it cycle?
Same time every year.
Okay, so it's just one program through the year. At the end of the year, starts again.
Correct.
And it starts every year when?
In August.
And your open call is usually held for that when?
In August. So
Okay.
the first part of August is usually within 2 or 3 weeks. We're already doing our first workshop.
And just for any listeners that think they might want to, do you offer, like you said, there's a cost. I'm not going to ask you what it is. They can reach out to you if they want to know. But is there financing available?
Yes.
Okay.
They pay it out through the year.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of a discount if they pay, it in full, but most people don't. Most people just pay a deposit, and then it's broken
What
out
about
in monthly payments.
scholarships? Do people?
Here's the thing with scholarships, and yes, we do give them on occasion. They tend to be my least working people.
Right.
No good deed goes unpunished. And I hate to say that because I've helped out some people that I really thought were great and had a special gift, but maybe didn't have the money. And they're the ones who disappoint me the most. And I'm just being honest here. It's it's the ones
The
that
drive wasn't there.
they just thought they were good enough
They
to,
had no
they were so
so to
good
say.
that I didn't charge them the same amount. And I threatened them
They
with their
didn't have
lives. Don't
skin
tell the
in the
person
game.
they didn't have any skin in the game.
That's it. That makes all the difference.
Yeah. And I mean, I've cried tears over these people because it's like that's how much you were pulling for them. And so there's no guarantees you can't come in and say, can I get a scholarship? Because it's not,
Right.
for us, it didn't work that way.
Right.
It's a personal decision I make that comes basically, because
And
there's so many hard costs.
I
A
think-
week at the Beverly, we stay at the week at the high-end hotel is expensive. Their flight, their training, that's coming out of my personal pocket. And so I've just learned the hard way it took me a long time to figure that out, but because you just
Right.
really want to pull for people. And
Well, and I think what it ends up being with somebody like you and with me and Christy is often it's people think we're disappointed or angry or whatever. No, I think the opposite. It's like you had so much potential belief in who they were going to be
Right.
and your expectations of what they were
Right.
capable of. They're just cutting themselves short because
Right.
they, can't rise to the occasion.
Right. It's not 100%, but it's a big percentage of people who you finally just go, this is not working.
Right.
It's costing me personally, and the gratitude starts to wane. You turn out to be the bad guy because you expect them to show up prepared, and it's sad, but it's sometimes people find themselves in situations because that's a way of life for them. And I don't know that when I'm making those offers. I just, I'm just telling them this is an opportunity. Don't blow it. But, habits are hard to break. And so it's, yeah. I mean,
Cultures are hard to break.
yeah.
So again, unless the whole family is on board, or at least one of the parents,
Yeah.
it's going to get behind them.
And that's real important with young people. Because I would say on a probably the
This
most
is like
recent.
playing a club sport or
exactly.
fancy,
This is like soccer on Saturday where they have all those,
right?
Yeah,
high
the people who
risk
the people who
people.
understand me, the people who understand me
That's
the
an
most
inside
are
joke.
people who have kids that are in sports because they'll compare it all the time. Of course, I didn't have my own children, so I didn't go through all those. But people who want to acknowledge and validate, how it makes me feel,
Right.
they remind me of the sports and yeah.
And your time, you're investing your time.
Oh, they just have no idea. But again, they don't have any skin in the game, and they think because you did that, somehow they're more talented than the person sitting next to them because you
Bless
didn't do
their
that
hearts.
because they didn't do that for somebody
Well-
else. And so it just isn't. It's not that way, and I do them a favor by being honest with them, by being honest, and because it's a hard industry,
Right.
and if they think that's the way it's going to be in LA, then I have just enabled them to have faulty thinking, and I tend to be an enabler anyway. And so as I get older, I'm less and less. But
Well, it's like we talked about. It's because Nikki's doing what she was born to do. She doesn't work a 9 to 5. She works a 24/7, 365 since she started this business. And
there
that's-
are kids who are alumni that have reached out to me just this week asking if I would help them. They've got reps in LA. Now they want some reps in Texas. And so I don't charge them for that. I just say, here's how I know if they're training. Send me your most recent training tapes.
Right.
And so, and that Rainey does usually that. And so with the alumni. And so if they send me some tapes that I can't use, or, I'll call Rainey and I'll say, are they training with you? And if they are, I said, well, please send me what you think are good tapes that they've done with you. So, because they've asked me to do this. I don't mind doing it. I just mind doing it if you're not doing any work.
Right.
Now you're asking me to work for free, which I'll do happily because you're an alumni, because you've trusted me to begin with.
Right.
But I'm not just a doormat when somebody wants to decide to see what more I'll do. So
You're
they have
sharing invaluable, priceless knowledge with
Well,
them.
here's
that they
here's the
can't-
faulty thinking. They think it's just a phone call, and I hear all kinds of reps say this. Even LA reps and even New York reps have say this over and over again. Is they think that this is just a simple phone call you have to make. It's a relationship that took 20 years to establish. And the reps that you're calling to help this person who's asked, they have people breaking down their door trying to get them to look at them. And so if you've established a relationship with these reps, they'll take your call. They'll say, sure, I trust who you're going to send my way. Because now they're going to take a meeting with these people.
Right.
And that's
and you're not sending them garbage.
right. And, and
That's
these are
your
people that
reputation,
you,
too.
And
that
you can't pay
know.
for credibility.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but you mess up credibility with them, then they start kind of going, oh, no, Nikki, the last 3 people you sent me, well, they weren't serious. And so I have to, and
You're endorsing these people.
right. I've got a guy that I just totally, I'm sold completely. He's an alumni. He's a little bit older. The older they are, the harder they're to sign, because now they're going into auditions, or they're auditioning against people who have established resumes and established names. And so, but I totally believe in this guy and his work ethic.
What's older?
Well, this guy's in his mid to late 30s. And so, well, no, I say older. I'm just saying, if you start at 7,
Right.
or 8, if you show up and you're just loving
if you're
this,
shining, oh, I got one for you.
cute and shiny or whatever, then they're easier to sign. Because the younger they are, they're not going into auditions where the kids have got experience. And so they like Rainey, 10 years old. I knew because she's just going to show up and she's going to get the gig, right? Because she's just that way, and was at an early age. But they grow out of that, and they grow into a new, now they're 15. Well, they don't look the same. So the younger they are, those reps are constantly looking for new faces. But once you get into your 20s and your 30s, you're not changing as much, and now you're going into rooms that are where you're going to see the same people, and they've got more time and experience and more stuff on their resume. So you have to be a hard worker if you're just getting started. And we've got people that do that, and they're booking, and they're great people. But this guy, it's my most recent group, not the one that's now, but the last group he's an alumni. And we've got one rep that's very, very interested, and he's signed here in Texas. He book stuff. He's doing a lot of things. Because I believed in him so much, there was the rep in LA wanted him to go to an LA rep that he trusts and kind of get some more coaching. so that rep that coach that he trusts will now call the rep and say what they thought. I paid for his 2 months of coaching because he just went through my program. He paid in full. He didn't ask for anything. He showed up at every workshop. His work ethic is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And I just know he's going to hit it. I know he will. And so those are the things I'll do for,
And
because
it's true. It only takes one person to believe in you.
Right.
To believe in yourself.
Right. And so, those are the quote scholarships I'll give now because I already know your history. I already know your work history. I already know your commitment. I already, I know. And he's just paid and and so we want this particular rep. And so he's willing to wait, and so we're just now in the process of where he's getting feedback now from the other coach, and that's been a good relationship. Anyway, and so those are the kind of scholarships I'm willing to do because I know who you are, and I know that you're willing to
You'll
do
stand
the work.
by what you say you're going to do.
I know he'll be grateful when he hits the red carpet.
But
years
he's a great
from now.
representation of you.
Exactly. He's proven himself, which is why as I've gotten older, I love the kids that are in the program now, but they're still, working and proving themselves, and they get closer to the coach because, you do become a tight family, and you have to be vulnerable in class, and again, since you've been through the comedy thing, there's some vulnerability that you have to release.
Sinclair, Christy's daughter, asked us this morning, she was like, what do you think your worst time in your life was? And collectively, we both kind of said, I said 9 to 12. And
I said 10 to 13.
But if you're taking on kids, even with their families at that age, you're with them in those formidable years of their life where they're looking for somebody outside of their family to look up to or respect or glean on.
Show us the way, shine the light.
That becomes, I think, an invaluable time of a kid's life when they're pursuing something that is so dynamic, like a passion for the arts.
Right.
Because
You're right.
If you don't have somebody with the same kind of enthusiasm and passion for what they're creating, that fire isn't going to be fueled. Yeah. And that's all you could hope for somebody is that they get to that place, and that I can think of all the things I should have been doing if I would have maybe had a little bit or found that niche earlier.
Yeah, I'm a late bloomer too.
But there's a sadness in me for that.
Yeah.
And I think that if you can help a kid get, like, my niece, she's so talented in the arts. She's a crazy dancer. But I think when you love children, especially when you don't have your own, and you start looking for those little bits of light in each of them, those sparkles, that, like, that's what people latch onto, and that it factor, it becomes... I don't know. I just see it on you, and I love that that's what you do.
Thank you.
So if you've enjoyed listening to episode 4 with Nikki Pederson, NIKKIPEDERSON.com, you are more than welcome to hit her up on her website or her Instagram.
And we'll have her all linked up.
We'll have her link in the Dropbox below where you can like and subscribe to Listen Christy on YouTube. Well, as we wrap up episode 4, say goodnight, Lucy.
Good night,
Good night,
Lucy.
Lucy.